Hey everybody, it's Stephanie Shea, Chief Astrologer for janspiller.com with your overview for July. I'm doing this broadcast on the day before the summer solstice. It's a beautiful summer day here in Portland, Oregon, so I thought I'd try an outdoor setting. And there is a lot to go through this month, so this may be a little longer than the usual overview. The main reason being is it's an eclipse month. So we're due for 2 eclipses in July. The first will be a solar eclipse in Cancer. That is on July 12th. Now, any Cancers who are born July 10th through the 14th are in store for some extra new beginnings. The solar eclipse is a high-powered new moon, and it's going to offer you the chance to set intentions not just for the next moon cycle, but the coming year ahead. So there's a lot of power behind it, even though we're in a retrograde filled month, which I will talk about next. Now, the second eclipse of July is the lunar eclipse, and that will be on the 27th, and it's an Aquarius full moon lunar eclipse, and it will be especially felt by any Aquarians born January 23rd through the 27th. Now, the difference between solar and lunar eclipse as far as what's felt is that for lunar eclipse, it's more about being in the spotlight and having things that you've been working on come to a point of culmination. Often when the lunar eclipse highlights your birth dates, you have a year ahead where it feels like you're in the spotlight and you've gotten the rewards for some of your efforts. So it's definitely a positive thing. It can be about also transforming and letting go of things that you need to in order to move forward. So what about these retrogrades? We have Mars retrograde all month. What makes this interesting is this Mars retrograde is in Aquarius. So at the time of that lunar eclipse in Aquarius, Mars will be hanging around right around the same degree as that full moon. I think it's going to offer it some energy. Mars is about passion, ambition. It can also be about anger. And because it's in retrograde, people may be feeling worked up about things that happened in the past. This can be used in a productive way to try and look at what happened in the past, try to address it, see what can be resolved. Mars is all about past actions. Perhaps you need a redo on something, whether it's taking a test, maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's a redo that involves a performance, anything that you feel like the first time you took a crack at it, it wasn't your best effort and you'd like to try it over. This would be a good time pretty much all month, and kind of really intense around the full moon. I would kind of avoid important meetings or conversations around this full moon eclipse because Mars will be so close by. It could just make everyone a little bit too emotional and, because Mars has to do with anger. I would just say wait a few days after the full moon if you do have a realization about something you need to address, specifically if it's from the past. Now, the other retrograde coming at us this month is Mercury retrograde, and we'll kind of feel the shadow effects of that for most of the month. It officially turns retrograde on the 26th, so that is the day before this big eclipse, and that also will have to do with redos in a certain way, definitely finishing what you started. You can probably get the sense that this month isn't the best month for new beginnings. Now, that said, with that new moon eclipse towards the beginning of the month, I do feel we can plant some seeds and kind of mine our past for those things that we have been wanting to do and maybe we took that initial baby step towards back in, say, May when it was a little more retrograde free. So look and see what can you kind of move forward a little bit despite the retrograde, something that's already been started a little bit in the works. If you do have to, say, make a new big purchase or negotiate a contract, try to leave yourself some wiggle room to renegotiate later because you may feel a little differently when we clear these retrogrades. September is going to be another small window of retrograde free time before Venus goes retrograde in October. So be thinking big picture in that way. One planet that won't be retrograde for much longer is Jupiter. This planet is going to station direct on the 10th, and it will be direct for about the next 5 months. Jupiter, when it's been in retrograde over the past 5 months or so, it can kind of force us to make our own luck more than the opportunities coming from the outside world. But once it turns direct, I think you'll start feeling a bit more flow of things coming towards you that look like good opportunities, and maybe something that is a continuation of efforts you started yourself. So the other last big thing to mention for the month is Uranus trine Saturn. This is kind of a big deal. As you might remember, the planet Uranus moved into Taurus on May 15th, and that was a big sign change for this planet. It only changes signs about every 7.5 years. So Uranus in Taurus is now starting to trine Saturn in Capricorn. And when these two planets work together, it's really kind of fun. Last summer they were both in fire signs. This summer it's earth signs, so I think it'll feel a little calmer. But the idea is a balance between revolution and some sort of structure. So Uranus wants to stir things up. Saturn wants to keep things stable. So they're going to work together for you, and be looking for things that you really need to change in your life. But you want to set up maybe a schedule or a calendar or some sort of organized system. And the end result is setting yourself free from something. So get your mind thinking, because as the month goes on, this trine is going to become closer and closer as far as the degrees these planets will be trining each other, and it's a very productive and favorable angle. So again, think reworking. You're reworking your life in some way with this aspect. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you have some good ideas brewing for July. Enjoy the eclipses, stay calm, they can be high energy, and I will be back with your forecast in August.